Hi guys, this video is going to basically show you how to set up Teams onto your desktop, what Teams is, and then how to set that into OneNote and making sure that the OneNote is working efficiently on your desktop. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to start by logging into our OneNote on the desktop version. Okay, so if you open up your OneNote, okay, so I'm going to go in through my apps. I'm going to open OneNote 2016. So just so you know the difference, you can see that there's two OneNotes right here. 2016, anything with a number on the end of it, is the desktop version of the Microsoft program that it's talking about. This right here is an app. Okay, so something like you'd see on your phone, which is more limited. Okay, so we're going to always stick to the desktop version for reasons that just make it more robust. Okay, so immediately it asks us to sign in. And so this is asking for a Microsoft account. Okay, and a 365 is not the same as a Microsoft account. So we don't want to use this sign-in, so we're going to hit the X, but OneNote will still open up. Okay, so if you have updates, you might hit install updates. I'm going to do this later because we don't want to stay and watch this update. Okay, and this next piece says OneNote is not currently your default program. We want this to be our default OneNote program. So we always want to be using the desktop version. So I'm going to click yes here. Okay, and then just okay. It's just setting that within the settings. Okay, so at this point, I am not signed in to OneNote at all. Okay, so what we're going to do is up here in the top right is we're going to sign in to OneNote. So when I sign in to this, I am now going to use my 365 credentials. Okay, so that's going to be my enulti@belgradeschools.com. Okay, so when I click, I should now see this work option. So that sets me up to the 365 for our Belgrade domain. And of course it asked me that twice. I don't know why, so we'll click that in twice. And now click in your password or type in your password. Okay, so now I'm signed in and you can see that here I am. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to open one of my class notebooks. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this for a second, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go in through a browser. Okay, and I'm going to open up Chrome because I like Chrome. Okay, so in Chrome, I'm simply just going to go to the 365 portal. So if you just type into the URL 365 portal, that'll take us to the login. Okay, so I'm going to click the Office portal, and here we go. They do have a new sign-in experience. Feel free to try it now if you'd like to. I'm just going to go here. Okay, so again, belgradeschools.com. This is not our Google account. So the same password is you would log into a computer with. Okay, you can decide if you want Chrome to save your password or not. I'm going to click never for now. Okay, so 365 is basically the exact same as last year. The one thing that is different is this classroom piece, which was similar to Google Classroom, has now been upgraded to what they call Teams. Okay, so Teams is incredibly awesome in my opinion. It basically links all that a teacher would want to do all in one space. Okay, so we're going to open this up. Takes a second, I guess. There we go. Okay, so what you can see, and when you're looking on yours, you should see roughly the same thing that I see. You probably don't have this, but you should at least see the classes that you teach. Okay, so what our tech department did is created these teams, and they have inputted your students into these classes. So everything is already synced. Okay, so you can see for mine, this first little piece is our conversation. Okay, so this is a place where students can start a conversation and ask questions and get in contact with me or even other students within the class. Okay, you can see my students are already uploaded. Okay, if you want to add or delete students, you're going to go to this little 3 dot, and you can view your team this way so you can see who's there. Okay, so if one of your members or your students is dropped your class, you would just come and X them out. I'm not going to do that because they're all still in this class. Okay, if you want to add members, you simply hit add, and then you would just type in their name. Make sure you're in students, type in their name, and simply add them. It is that simple. Okay, so going back to let's see, going back to this little general place, so we'll go back into my calculus. You can see that there are different things. All of these have been generated by teams except for this one. Of course, I put my website onto this so my students can easily access that. But to explain each of these, conversations, as I said, is a way for you to communicate with your students. You could even meet and have a little Skype if you wanted to with one of your students. These are other little, I don't know, fun little emoji things that you can do. Now files. Files is a cool place where you can upload a file. So if you have notes or worksheets or whatever you want to send and have a place for your students to access things, this is where you would go. This is also a place where a student would create or start a new assignment for you. So if I had my calculus first period kids start a new paper, I can hit new and they can immediately open a Word document and start typing, and it will be saved in this location so they'll know exactly where it is. Okay, so that's really super slick, especially when students are losing things all the time. Okay, I'm going to skip class notebook for this moment. I can show you, this is just simply an add-in. If you see this little plus sign, you have lots of different cool things that you can link. So you can put in YouTube videos, you can put in PDFs, all of these cool things. I noticed one of the things that I will use is can't see it on this one, but or Nearpod is one of the things. So I plan to be using Nearpod. You could do SurveyMonkey. So some additional things that you could play around with. Currently isn't loading, of course that would happen. There you go. So generally when I would click this, it would normally show my website. And oh, there we go to website. It can take students to my website where I would put video notes for them or additional information. Okay, assignments. Okay, so this is kind of like your Edmodo feature, and this is where you can create a new assignment and you can give it a due date. You can allot it points. You can insert a reference material. You can do a whole bunch of different things. So this is a place where a student would go and see their assignments and turn them in directly. Okay, so super easy place, and then you can even grade it from this location. So that is very cool. Okay, so class notebook, this is what I wanted to show you, in my opinion, is really the guts of 365. Okay, so class notebook is where you would put all of your information, in my opinion. Okay, so I have already set my class notebook up. So in order for you to set up a class notebook, let me take you through this incredibly fast. I'm going to create a new team. It'll just be a quick class notebook. So this is another way you can create teams. So if you have other scenarios, you might want something like this. I'm going to call it tests and create the team. It's going to take a second to create this. I'm not going to add any students at this exact time. Okay, so there's my team with those things that you see. And now if I create the class notebook, okay, so class notebook is going to be a place where all of your students can access, basically, think of a notebook that you would generally have in your filing cabinet with, you know, your tests and your worksheets and your class notes, everything there. So this is a place where we would have it in a digital area. This first piece is setting up private sections, okay? So this is the sections that students are going to have. So think of like if you were going to give students a notebook to keep stuff organized for themselves, what kind of things would you want to have for them? Okay, so other than things that you would give as class notes, do you give handouts? Do you have homework that you would want them to turn in, quizzes or warm-ups? So you can delete these however you would want them. You can add another section, call it whatever you wanted. Okay, so this is a place where each student has its own little notebook. Okay, so we're going to then hit create. Okay, and this is going to take a little bit of time for it to create this notebook. Okay, so I'm going to kind of fast forward here and go to an already created one so you can see, and we don't have to say and wait. Maybe. I guess while this is loading, one thing that I can talk about is this download. Okay, I personally will have my students download Teams to the desktop. Okay, so if you hit download, you can see it come down here if you're using Chrome. It's going to take a second. Okay.
Mom, you do this.
Okay, so once it's done downloading, I can click on it and I can hit Open Teams, and it will basically give me a desktop version for me to see everything. Okay, so I will also have my students download the Teams app, okay, which basically will give them access to each of their classes, so they would see my class and every other class that they're signed up for, all in one place. Okay, and then of course have access to my OneNote where all of my personal information will be. Okay, so I would sign in, and then you can see this down here on my desktop. I would have my students right click and pin this to the taskbar. So every single time they come to class, it's down here in the bottom. I would do the same thing with this OneNote, pin that to the taskbar. So next time they log on, it is already there. We don't have to go through this setup again. Okay, so let's get to the part where we're going to open this notebook inside of OneNote. So here is my class notebook. Okay, so for my calculus first period, this online version allows me to see some stuff, but not a ton of stuff. Okay, so if I click on here, you can go in and it kind of allows you to open up the notebook and see what's inside. Now I put all of my information for my students into the content library. Okay, you can see all of my students, those are their particular notebooks. Okay, so here's my content library. They could click on here and you can see that I've given them a welcome little place, and then we've already started chapter 1, so they could go in here and see all of the notes that I've put into my OneNote, okay, as well as the worksheet, which I will give to them as an assignment. Okay, they can do that from Teams and from their phones. If I want them to actually write on this and manipulate this, I want them to be doing it on the desktop version. It is just more robust. Okay, so whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to open in OneNote. Okay, and we're not going to do anything online. We want to go to the desktop version. So I'm just going to click Open in OneNote. Okay, I'm going to open the app and I am going to choose. So here are those two options. I talked about this earlier. 2016 is your desktop application. This is simply an app. Never click on that. It is just an app. It's kind of similar to the web online version, so it's not deep. So we're always going to choose the desktop version, 2016. Okay, we're going to say yes to the security that our computers pop out, and this will take a second depending on your computer. Of course, it's going to import everything that I have put onto this. So you can see it does take a little bit of time because it is a big file. And of course, the later on in the year this goes, the bigger the file becomes, because I do use this for my entire year, every single day. Okay, I'm just gonna pause the video while we're waiting. Alright, so finally loaded, yay! So I'll just take you quickly through this notebook. So I'm going back up and going to the very beginning. Okay, so kind of a quick tutorial through OneNote. Okay, again, so think of this as like a 3-ring binder, and you have like sections for each chapter, and then within each section you have pages for each page of notes. Okay, so up here these are kind of the sections. Okay, now in a class notebook you can see that there are different spaces. Okay, there is first of all a collaboration space. Okay, so the collaboration space is a place where every person who has access to the notebook can write on this. So personally, I would put warm-ups up here where I would want all the students to potentially work together to solve a warm-up. Okay, so to navigate back, I hit this little green arrow and it takes me back to the main page. Okay, the content library, this is where I put everything. Okay, so every chapter that I go through is gonna have its own section. So I'm in chapter 1, so you can see all of the pages that will exist. This can go an infinitely long amount of pages. Okay, I have here are the notes on functions. So you can see what I did here is I simply printed pictures of my textbook into this. Okay, so my students don't have to carry around a giant textbook. They can just see it off their phones. Okay, and you can see that the problems that I'll eventually assign from the textbook are down here at the bottom. Okay, so they can see this, they can go in, they can zoom in. Okay, the worksheet that I might put out to them will be right here. Okay, so I can send this page to them and they can write on it. So if they happen to have a stylus on a touchscreen tablet, they can write on this. Okay, so that's what I plan to do with my students. You might not have that option, but that's something you can look for down the road if that's something you would use. So if again I hit the little green arrow, this is my teacher only section. I have nothing in here yet except for my seating chart And this is where I would put answer keys that I don't want students to see, so they could not access this place. Okay, and then you can see right here there's an arrow that shows all of my other tabs here, which includes all of the students that are in my class. So if I was going to look at Aaron's stuff, if I gave them a in-class assignment, I could click there, or I guess I would go to assignments and maybe I would have sent that page to them. I haven't done that yet. And I can see her work, and I can even write on top of that and say, no, that was wrong, or whatever I want to say. And so she can see that I've looked at this work. Okay. Let's see. This tab right here is each of your notebooks. Okay, so all those notebooks that you have on your shelf, this would be a notebook for each of your classes. So for you to get each of your notebooks in here, you'll have to go back to Teams and do that process over again. So you'll have to come back and now go to second period calculus, okay, and open that in OneNote. Okay, so once you've done and opened all these notebooks into your desktop version, once you've done that one time, you don't have to keep opening those. So I have mine all opened on my desktop. I can immediately go in, find calculus, and then I can go to math 3 or whatever, and I can go within those. Okay, last thing I want to show to you is how to print into this place. Okay, so as you can see over here, I have printed my syllabus into this welcome page. Okay, so to do that, what you need is you need something to print. So, ooh, I didn't get that far. Let's see if we can pull up my, that's right. I'll just pull something quickly off the internet. Let's go to, let's say I'm going to do slope worksheet. Okay, whatever you have. It doesn't have to be a PDF. It doesn't have to be a Word. It can be anything that you have the ability to print. So if you open up that document, if you have a Word document or if you have a PowerPoint document, all you have to do is open that document. Okay, the first thing I want to do is say, okay, first, where in OneNote am I going to want to put this? Okay, so maybe I'm going to keep this in my welcome page. Now let's put it in the content library. That would make more sense. Let's say in chapter 1, this is my next worksheet. So I'm going to add a page. Okay, so I have this untitled page. I'm going to call it slope worksheet. Okay, so that's my title, and you can see it pop up right here on my pages. Okay, so if I take that worksheet, whatever it happens to be, and I simply hit print. Okay, so if I do this, I'm going to hit change it, and we're going to send to OneNote. Okay, so once that says send to OneNote 16, or maybe whatever version you're using, it's going to print it to that place. So you should see now the very bottom, this OneNote on the bottom is blinking in red. Okay, so it says, hey, where do you want me to put this printout? So you can see that on my current page I have my slope worksheet. I'm going to choose right there and hit OK, and it's going to print that document into my OneNote. Okay, so now I have this worksheet that I could potentially write on if I have any kind of smart software, if I have a smart board or a tablet or anything that has a touch screen. I can write on it and we can talk about slope and so forth. Okay, so please let me know if you have any other questions. You can email me, whatever. All right, thanks.